What's going on, everybody? It's your boy at Crossover MMA back with another video. And for today, we're going to look at UFC 304, and I'm going to do my final predictions. And I'm also going to give you a little bonus as a caveat because I spoke about it in an earlier video, and I figured I should finish it or see it through rather. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So the first fight I'm going to talk about is the little bonus fight. It's going to be the Muhammad Mokaev fight versus Manel Kape. So another reason why I think this fight needs to get talked about is, in my opinion, it's going to be a #1 contender fight at flyweight. And this fight to me is just going to be grappler striker, the classic grappler striker matchup. You got Muhammad Mokaev with his wrestling, undefeated, 23 years old. I mean, one more win and he's probably the #1 contender. And then you got Manel Kape, very dynamic, very fast on the feet. Okay, takedown defense. I feel like it's gonna come and play big time in this fight. Very good personality. I think a win from Kape would be good for the division because I think it would give another contender somebody with a personality in the division. I think flyweight kind of needs that. So for me, I'm going with Manel Kape by decision. Moving right along, first fight on the main card, rather, Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. So for me in this fight, you got Arnold Allen's boxing, his footwork, his wrestling. Giga, you have his kicks. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage. But I think, and then I'm going to throw in this as well. Giga is also 35, fighting at 145. I know a lot of people know about the stats as far as 35 and fighters below 170 pounds, but it's actually kind of funny because I'm going against that in a later fight. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Arnold Allen by decision. I think we will get a really good fight, but I think Arnold Allen's boxing and his footwork is gonna be the difference in that fight. Moving up, we got Christian Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodriguez. So this fight, people, I think is going to be a absolute banger. Absolute banger. You got Christian Leroy Duncan. He's a slick striker. He's got a 90% finish rate. He has a 4-inch reach advantage and definitely will trade in the pocket. Gregory Rodriguez is a very credentialed BJJ fighter. Since he's come into the UFC, though, he's kind of fallen in love with his striking a little bit. He has an 80% finish rate, so this fight is definitely going to be all action. I think Rodriguez might get in a little bit of trouble because I don't think he moves his head a lot. So he ends up getting hit quite a bit. But with that being said, I'm going to go with Gregory Rodriguez by KO. Moving up, we got Bobby King Green against Paddy Pimblett. In this fight, I think Bobby will have a speed advantage and a striking advantage. I know Bobby has his hands down, so he's open to get hit, but he uses his reactions and his distance management as his defense, and he shoulder rolls with a lot of strikes. And I think the Jarrett Gordon fight for Paddy Pimblett just really showed that his striking is not caught up to his grappling, and hopefully, in camp for this fight, he really, really improved his striking, because if so, I think this fight can be very, very interesting. I know Bobby Green is coming off the win versus Jim Miller, but he did have that brutal KO against Jalen Turner 7 months ago. And Bobby Green is also 37 years old, so that plays a part. Fighters over 35, under 170 pounds typically don't do very well. But Bobby's still been looking good, still got that speed, still moves very well. The chin is a little questionable now after the Jalen Turner KO, and even in the Bobby Green's fight with Jim Miller, I mean, he was taking some shots in that first round. So we're definitely gonna see how this fight goes. Paddy Pimblett has a 2-inch reach advantage, and 43% of his finishes are subs. So definitely for Paddy to win this fight, in my opinion, I think he's got to implement the grappling some kind of way. However, his wrestling isn't quite there, so I don't know how he's gonna implement his jiu-jitsu if he can't get Bobby down to the ground, because Bobby's takedown defense is solid. I'm not going to say it's the best in the UFC, but it's solid. But I think Paddy's going to have an issue getting the fight to the mat unless, like, he catches, like, a Bobby Green kick or Bobby, like, slips and falls and Paddy gets on him. But outside of that, I just really see this fight playing out on the feet. And like I said, I think Bobby Green has the advantage on the feet, so I'm going with Bobby Green by decision. But I can definitely see this fight going either way. I don't feel very confident in that pick at all. Then moving up to the co-main event, we have Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes. Tom Aspinall has, I think, like the shortest fight time in the UFC. So, I mean, he's not out there trying to get bonus money for working overtime. He's just trying to get that bonus money with finishes, and I like that. Tom Aspinall's footwork, his speed, his striking, his grappling, he's just a very overall complete fighter. It's heavyweight. He's also got power in his hands. Then you look over to Curtis Blaydes, who's probably the best wrestler in heavyweight. That's a true heavyweight. I know John Jones is in the division and a wrestler, but the later parts of his career hasn't really used a lot of the wrestling outside of the Surreal Gone fight. Curtis Blaydes also has power in his hands, but he doesn't have quite the same type of movement as Aspinall. He's more of a plotter. So I'm going Aspinall by TKO, and I think it's for Aspinall, it probably will be in like the first or second round, because that's just the nature of how he's fought people in the UFC. So now we finally get to the main event, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. So coming in, starting off, I mean, just with the stats, Leon has a 2-inch reach advantage. Leon's striking, his footwork, and his speed are all things I think he's going to have an advantage over Belal Muhammad. He's also got championship experience. He's been 5 rounds in his last 2 fights, and I mean even 3 fights if you want to count the second Usman fight, even though it ended with a minute left in the fight. So that championship experience is big. And then when you look over at Belal Muhammad, the answer for Belal is going to be the cardio and his pressure. Like, he's got to implement it early, and he's got to stick to it, and he's got to stay on it. He can't let Leon get comfortable, and he can't let Leon dictate the pace of the fight. It's got to be something Belal has to do for the entirety of the fight. I also think Belal Muhammad's mindset coming into this fight of taking the long road to get here. I know the same can be said with Leon Edwards as well. But Belal just getting this title opportunity, it kind of was like the UFC didn't even really want to give it to him, but he just had beaten everybody, and he was the guy. Like, he made himself undeniably the #1 contender. I also think Belal must implement his wrestling, and I mean he must get to Leon and stick to him like glue. Whether that's in the clinch, getting takedowns, or if Leon scrambles back to his feet, reshoot, try and get him down again. I think you got to rinse and repeat for Belal Muhammad, and I think that's his method of victory in this fight. But with that said, I'm going with Leon Edwards by decision. I just think the striking, the footwork, the speed, the length, I think it's going to be too much for Belal. But, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if, you know, Belal surprised everybody and just implemented a very heavy wrestling approach and got the win that way. But Let me know what you guys think, whether you agree, disagree with what my takes down in the comments. Let me know what your picks are. If you made it all the way through the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and until next time.